This is Edge of Sports on the PPI Network with your host, Dave Zirin.
On the phone, the war chief from the only basketball magazine that matters. That would be Slam. His name is Ben Osborne. Ben, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Dave? Good to hear from you.
Oh, great to have you here live on the air. Ben, I'm going to play a little game with you, stolen shamelessly from my man Ivan Carter, Comcast Sportsnet, and it's called Tell Me I'm Wrong. I'm just going to say something about what I think about the upcoming NBA season, and just, tell me straight up. Tell me if you think I am wrong.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yep.
Tell me I'm wrong. The Clippers will be better than the Lakers this year.
I think you're wrong. I don't know how yet, but I'm not ready to. I'm not ready to get my head around that one yet.
It's just too hard, right?
Yeah, especially when we don't know really that. I mean, if this is truly the Lakers roster, then you're right. But I don't know. I feel like they're going to do something with their trade exception or Dwight or. But yes, I will give you, if this team is the Lakers roster all season, then the Clippers will have a better record.
Is part of you in your head think that, because they're the Clippers, even if the rosters stay the same, they'll mess it up somehow and the Lakers will rise to the occasion somehow? Is there something mystical in your thinking?
There's something to that, too. But, I mean, it's more about if the Clippers have definitively have the better players, I don't think this is more my faith in Mitch Kupchak and Kobe and just the Lakers organization that they're going to, salvage something.
Let me ask you, the Lakers roster, one man can't make a move. I mean, I look at that roster, Fisher, all the guys over 35 years. Man, I'm surprised Fisher's even staying on, and much less starting. He's awful. Yeah, thank you. I like him, but
fine
he can't play anymore.
Friend of the show. Hard to imagine him guarding Chris Paul. I think we can all agree about that.
Totally. No, that's going to be like the crazy irony because, Fish is kind of Kobe's boy, and then they're going to play in the same building. That's their big rival, and he's just going to get torched by the guy that could have been a Laker. Yeah, it's going to be brutal for Laker fans, I'm sure, that matchup in particular.
Okay, tell me I'm wrong. Miami will not make the NBA Finals because they will suffer in a shortened season with no bench to speak of.
It's funny, Dave is a writer for Slam, too, so I just was reading his column where he's talking about how the Heat aren't going to make the finals. I think you're wrong. The lack of a bench is a slight concern, but I think the shortened season sort of plays into like a LeBron's hands. I mean, he's still just so fit and goes so hard. I think that the last few games of the finals notwithstanding, I think his unstoppability will be even more pronounced. Same with the Derrick Rose also, but I think if it's Bulls Heat again, also Dave, what difference does the shortened schedule matter when we get to the Eastern Conference Championship?
That gets to my next question. Tell me I'm wrong. The Bulls would have been better off staying with Keith Bogans than going to Rip Hamilton at age 34.
These are good ones, Dave.
I came prepared. You're Ben freaking Osborne, for God's sakes, not some piker. Had to bring the hard questions.
You're asking me yes or no questions. Gosh, that's a tough one. I like the Rip move. I think that they need scoring. And yes, Bogans is like a gritty guy, and that served a purpose. But to me, that team is going to play that way anyway. Like it's almost like yes, Keith fit in very well with what Tibbs is trying to do in a way that Rip doesn't. But the truth is, they needed offense, and they'll still play hard and be Bulldogs. Rip won't be necessarily, but I think his points are more valuable than some of the dirtier stuff that Keith Bogans brings. So I liked it for the Bulls.
Tibbs being Coach Tom Thibodeau. Go to you, Coach K. Coach.
Because I really think that I like you. I like the rip move. He's a champion. He plays hard. I remember what got him out of town here in D.C. when he just flatly disagreed with Jordan. And really saw Jordan as an old man that shouldn't have been out there. So I've always admired him since, because I'm not a Jordan fan, as Dave knows. So I think he's a tough character. I think he's a high character guy, and he's got rings. And it's still a young team, so I think he can add a lot of ways. Bogans is a local kid from DeMatha.
Yep.
Played here. Been around a long time, but I just saw him on the floor as a 2 and just saying, 2s in this league, no, they don't get 5 points a game.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
It's like being a third baseman who hits 8 home runs.
Right.
I mean,
that's a great comparison. Yeah,
Thank
like
you.
it's not.
Don't
you need
fill
points
his
from that.
head,
You need
man.
points from that position.
His head barely fills into the showroom now. Come on,
please. Man. Look at that suit you're wearing.
Oh,
Look like you walked
look
out of a
good,
dry cleaner. Unbelievable. All right. Question for you. Question for you, War Chief Ben Osborne. If you tell me I'm wrong, if you are a betting person, the only bet that actually has some true weight and logic to it in a way that won't keep you up every night is if you put money right now on the Oklahoma City Thunder to win the NBA championship.
I don't. What are the odds on that? I mean, I think that would be a kind of savvy bet. But.
Okay, but let's say you're thinking odds. I'm just saying like the idea that you won't be crippled by self-doubt is the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's the only bet.
You're saying they're winning the title, basically.
Yeah, they have the inside track. They should be our prohibitive favorite. Tell me I'm wrong.
It's possible.
Hey, Ben.
We're working on it. Kevin will be on our next cover, and that's kind of one of the things we're saying. I think one of the most interesting things is how little people are talking about them. And even him. I mean, here's arguably in my opinion, the second best player in the league.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And because he's not talking about his contract, and because he's not on the verge of going anywhere, like people are totally forgetting about them. I'm not a big Scotty Brooks guy, to be honest with you.
Neither am I.
He makes me a little nervous.
Yes, sir.
Like nervous, like when he shakes your hand, his palm is a little bit too warm and sweaty, or like nervous as in you don't trust him in late game situations.
Fourth quarter, baby.
Yeah, I don't trust him. I don't know. I'm not saying I have the answer for. Well, I hated how he benched Russell Westbrook, actually, and
I did too, actually.
I don't. So Russell's stubborn, fine, but I think that the development of that story and the fact that we're going to have to hear about it again. I mean, I put that almost entirely on the coach. Like, solve it. I don't know what the answer is, but solve it. Keep it away from the media. Like that's the thing. If anyone's talking about the Thunder, it's is there beef with Russell and Kevin? Like the coach has to
it's
deal
true.
with that.
Anytime you think about teams that are built for numerous championships, and I'm not talking about the Bulls teams, but teams that had multiple top-line, A-list alpha players, you never heard about that kind of thing. You never heard, even though it probably existed, like
only with
Worthy.
Only with Kobe and Shaq.
Yeah,
but those guys were so good that it didn't matter. Like Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, we don't need to be hearing about this.
But there was never a James Worthy wants his shots story.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Go
so
ahead.
that whole way that they went out against the Mavs was just like distasteful and not, in my opinion, fine. The Mavs were maybe still better last year, but that series wasn't even close, and it should have been. So, but barring him, I mean, I think that Baca should be awesome. Obviously, Kevin. Obviously, Russell Westbrook. So, and also the continuity that they have that other teams don't have. They're young and they don't have a lot to adapt to, so the shortened season should play into their hands really well.
Okay, so with this bet and your delayed response, aren't the Mavericks the defending champion? And are you saying that they found lightning in a bottle once, or are you saying the Chandler move?
Yeah, no Tyson Chandler, no title.
No, the Mavs are legit. I did hesitate. I think the Mavs are going to be really good
without Tyson Chandler.
I mean, that hurts, but Lamar's a great player.
Yeah, that's true. But
I know they're very different, obviously, but
Brendan Haystacks Calhoun at the center is not gonna do it. Brendan Haywood reminds me of what they used to say about Albert Hainsworth in D.C. They say Albert's out of shape, and you say, "Wait a minute, round is a shape." All right. This is when Ben doesn't laugh. He's like, we have relationships with these people. Stop it, Dave. Okay. Question. All right. So this is a tell me I'm wrong. One more because it relates to this. Tell me I'm wrong. Tyson Chandler alone puts the Knicks in the conversation with the Heat and the Bulls and the Celtics.
You're completely wrong. You're completely wrong. I'm totally not believing.
Thank you.
My heart. It hurts.
Hey, Ben.
Why am I wrong? Explain yourself, Ben.
For one, Ben, Dave thinks he's going to be the backcourt in New York.
It's a
and
joke.
You can't win without one of those.
It's a joke. It's so silly to me, and I think, and Dave, I understand you're old school Knicks fan, and you're a smart one. But I think actually this is going to be kind of messy in my opinion for a number of reasons.
Tell me,
First
please.
of all, the things that he does are kind of subtle. They don't show up in the box score. All these quote-unquote savvy fans are going to be there like, we gave $14 million to a guy to get 6 points and 9 rebounds.
Thank you. And 5 fouls.
They have I don't understand who's the point guard, the stuff that Carmelo's going to handle the ball, the biggest over-dribbler in the NBA. That's ridiculous. You have the worst coach for this roster. He's a terrible coach already, and then you bring in what I don't even know how they should play, but they obviously can't do the 7 seconds or less. I guess they should be kind of more half court, but Tyson does run a little, but Amari can't really. I don't know. I think it's pretty messy. They're all good. Tyson Chandler's a really nice player, but I don't think it puts them. I mean, the Celtics have some issues too. The Bulls and Heat are in a totally different class.
Don't you look at Amari Stoudemire like I do when you say to yourself, anytime you can get someone with one eye and one knee for $125 million, you have to do that. You have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, really, that was the other crazy thing. And it's so Knicks because they're just so impatient.
Yes,
you just decided in June we're gonna. I mean, you would have had a very motivated Chauncey Billups, relatively affordable, 1 year. Then. I mean, I understand the Chris Paul thing semi was resolved, but what was the rush? This is your franchise, this is your roster for 3 or 4 years now. The point of the amnesty would be for a guy like Amari Stoudemire, not for Chauncey Billups. So now you can never use it on Amari.
Wow.
You're never going to be able to make these 3 guys, that's your core for 3 or 4 seasons with no backcourt.
You just gave me a horrible flashback of, and right now I have a searing migraine that is Ben Osborne written all over it. You just gave me a flashback to the Knicks trading Pat Ewing when he had just 1 year left on that monster contract to get Vin Baker for the long term.
Totally.
They could have gotten Ewing off the books and rebuilt correctly.
Because I feel because he's a different kind of player that it's being spun really positively. What a smart on Knicks move to sign this defensive-minded, rebounding center. But in reality, it was a very old-school Knicks move of being impatient and irresponsible with their money when it's even harder to overcome those mistakes now with tighter cap and tighter rules. So, I think I said it on Twitter. I'm not smart enough to act out do the math of what a 45-win season is in a 66-game season. But basically, congratulations, Knicks. You guys are going to be, 45-37 for the next 4 seasons. Have fun.
Wow. I feel like Rick Perry in a debate. I just got smacked down so hard. Then last question for you. Tell me I'm wrong. Your Washington Wizards have a chance to land that last playoff spot in the East.
Mr. Glutton for punishment, Dave. Jump on that one, Ben, before I do.
I don't think so, but
Thank you.
Jan Vesely?
It's all, to me, the Wizards, it's all about
the
next off season, get Richard off of there. And I think John Wall is going to have an awesome season, in fantasy purposes. I'm very high on him. I think he'll be really fun to watch. But I still think they're just a couple pieces short. And frankly, if I were them, I wouldn't even sweat it that much. Eventually, you're going to be dealing with is John Wall staying questions, but I think he's going to give his all this year. He's still, he missed some games last year. I think he's going to be just a positive situation all around, and then you maybe it's going to be a great draft. I would try to get another high pick, and I don't think, we don't think of it as a good destination for free agents, but I don't see why that has to be the case. The chance to play with John Wall, possibly another really high pick, and in a cool city, I think that that's all about Ernie Grunfeld and whoever else is making decisions there, what they do after this season. I would just give John Wall the ball, say improve as best you can, get your best numbers, and this team will be something to talk about maybe next year.
And last question, tell me I'm wrong. If we played one-on-one, I'd win 11-6.
Here he goes.
What do you think, 11-6? Or do you think you'd get up to
Me and you have
7?
never been on a court together, David. And actually, we have a little slam run now. So if you're ever in New York on a Tuesday night, we can find out who's wrong.
Don't do it. I'm telling you, Dave will undercut you.
Is it half
He's
court?
dirty. He's dirty. He'll
3
undercut
questions. 1, is there half court? 2, is there oxygen? 3, are there bagels or other assorted carbohydrates?
No, and no, but it's a very, very small full court.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. The smaller the court, the more to my advantage.
Yeah.
It's very savvy on my part to go for a small
You're
court.
a dirty player. Period.
Ben, thank you so much for joining us, man. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much for having me. Let's do it again.
Yes,
Thank you.
that is
All right,
Ben
guys, take care.
Osborne, Slam Magazine, slamonline.com.